Sweet. Hey everyone, welcome back to My Understanding. Today's episode is a very special one. I'm very excited to talk about it, at least partially because as I was getting prepped for this episode, I was like, this is going to be a great one. Like, it fits so many people. So I feel like a lot of people are going to be able to relate to it. Um, and then I fell victim to exactly what this podcast is about. so I think that's why it's so good. Is it's one of those things that everyone or almost everyone has dealt with at one point or another, especially regarding your fitness journey. So today's episode is about the most underrated skill in fitness, and it is consistency when life gets messy. So I feel like when people are starting their fitness journeys, or even kind of just a journey in general, like for this podcast, for example, a lot of times we're always just waiting to get started for those perfect conditions, right? Like, we're hoping, okay, everything will line up just perfectly. Okay, are you sure? I've got my job, I've got my second job, I've got my family I'm taking care of. You have all these things going on, but you're like, no, it's gonna happen. I just need to give it time. I'm just gonna wait, and everything will line up perfectly. When in reality, unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. That is very rare. A lot of times you kind of just have to just go with the flow. You almost have to be able to embrace the chaos and just go for it. You have to just take that first step. Um, because honestly, those perfect conditions are almost never going to be perfect. And so being able to just take that initial step and just say, like, hey, my life is chaotic right now. I I don't think I'm going to be able to, give this my all, or give it my best, or even that's okay. That's genuinely okay. You almost have to just be able to tell yourself, like, it's okay to not be perfect, because it's better to get started with a little bit and maybe a little bit of ugliness, or just not ideal, and just get started rather than continuing to delay and wait for those perfect conditions that may never come. Perfect can just lead to a lot of extra stress because you're trying to manage all the things around you, and you have this in the back of your mind, and you're like, no, 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 it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You keep just waiting and waiting. And a lot of the times, more often than not, I see people just take months and years waiting when they could have made so much more progress. You could have achieved so much more in that amount of time. If you would have just taken that first step and just kind of started going along your path, you'd be a lot farther along, even if you showed up to the gym and were walking for 5 minutes. Like, it really is about taking just baby steps and just kind of getting started with something. You don't have to be perfect. The situation that you're in doesn't have to be perfect. And I realize I'm saying that. I will get into it. I'm definitely a victim of that as well. I mean, I've been doing this for years, and I still find myself, I'm like thinking, like, no, everything has to be perfect. Okay? Everything. This podcast, flawless. My script, amazing. Fun fact, I don't actually really use a script. And I do that to force myself to get away from perfection, because I very much am a perfectionist. I'm sure a lot of people would probably say similar about themselves. If not, screw you. I'm jealous. But yeah, so kind of getting back on track a little bit, like, those perfect conditions are very rarely going to be there. So if you're just thinking about starting, whether it be a new hobby, or whether it be, going to the gym and starting your fitness journey, don't wait. Just get started. Regardless of how much or how little you're doing, the problem isn't just waiting for those moments that never, the problem is waiting for those moments that never come, rather than just taking that first step. And so if you're really trying to be consistent and make like a big change like that, by waiting, you're just delaying the inevitable. Because perfect conditions, even if they do come along, they don't stay. I mean, I have not met a single person who's like, yeah, my whole life has just been perfect. Yeah, just everything has gone my way. Never had an issue. Just spotless my entire life. Flawless. I'm perfect. Honestly. Yeah, I don't think that's a thing. And if you've met somebody like that, they're probably lying to your face. So I would highly suggest, rather than just trying to wait for those perfect conditions, that even if it does come along, won't last, and then you'll be back in that chaos and probably going through the thought process of like, my life is a mess again. I have to stop. I can't do the gym. I need to just focus on these other things. Rather than doing that, just take the first step while life is chaotic, while it's a little messy. Because consistency, it honestly, it actually looks like when life is messy. Consistency is being able to deal with that mess and being able to still show up and show out, kind of. Even if that showing up and showing out is small little steps here and there, like baby steps. Rather than just saying, having that all or nothing mindset, being able to just say that, you know, as long as I can get in, that's good enough. As long as I can get in and maybe I get, 5-10 minutes on a treadmill or 5 or 10 minutes on a rope. Maybe I get in, do 2 or 3 sets of like 3 exercises, just in there for, 20-30 minutes. That's good enough. Rather than having that all or nothing mindset, being able to take small steps and just choosing to go and do something, even when life is messy, that's what consistency is. Or at least that is, the part of it, is being able to say, hey, conditions aren't ideal. I would love to, be a little bit less busy. I'm exhausted after a long day of work. Or, okay, I got to get up, a half hour early so that way I can, leave and get to the gym and then shower off before I go to work. Being able to make those small changes and just stick to one thing at a time, kind of like you're just building a little bit of a habit. Because that all or nothing mindset is what will harm you in the long run. Because honestly, your fitness journey, your health journey, even, I mean, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Like, you have to live your entire life a certain way. And if you want to be healthy from however old you are now to, until you die, if you want to be able to stay healthy and spend time with your family or do things that you enjoy doing, you have to do more than just say, okay, when my life is perfect, then I'll go and exercise. Then I'll take care of my health. Because that's never going to happen. You have to be willing to say, hey, life sucks right now. Maybe it's a little bit hard. I know I still need to try and take care of myself. Because then when those perfect conditions do come around, you're already taking care of yourself. So now you're able to get another head start. Maybe you start a new habit, still having tied to the same, journey that you're on. But maybe rather than, okay, hey, I've only been going for 5 or 10 minutes. Now you have those perfect conditions. Hey, now let's maybe try and go for 30 or 45. However long you have, you can kind of increase, kind of compound on those habits. Or it's like, hey, I just did weightlifting during my craziness in life. Now it's like, hey, okay, I'll do weightlifting. Maybe I'll add in a little bit of cardio afterwards. I'll go for a swim, or maybe I'll do the sauna. It's kind of just building habits and stacking those habits together when you have the capacity to do so. The physical and mental capacity, I would say. Because those are two very important key factors for building consistency, is having the physical and mental capacity. I'm no psychologist, but I would say, like, the psychology behind consistent people is that they have kind of learned to understand that you almost need to follow an identity based style of habits, where it's like, rather than like, oh, I'm trying to do this thing, or I'm hoping that I can start my fitness journey. I'm hoping that I can start it right now, or tomorrow. It's, what would I do if I was a person who went to the gym regularly? Like, hey, let's say my life is chaotic, but I am somebody who's already going. What would a person like that do? Okay, well, they would understand, like, hey, life is crazy. I'm going to go and just do what I can. I'm going to go and kind of show up for myself by taking care of myself and going to the gym. Or hey, maybe it's not even going to the gym. Maybe if you really don't have the time to go drive there, maybe it's like, okay, maybe I can do a little bit of research on nutrition. Hey, like, what do I need to be eating? What foods are good for me? What foods aren't good for me? So understanding that like there is a huge variety, there's a wide aspect of things that you can do to take care of your health, even if it isn't necessarily going to the gym. If you've seen my podcast in past episodes, you know there's a lot to go over when it comes to like hydration and nutrition and things that you can do at home. Yoga. That's something you can always do at home as well. There's plenty of things to keep your body moving and keep you healthy that aren't always in the gym. And so if you're choosing to just wait for perfect conditions or hoping that you can start something, instead try to identify with who you want to be. Let's say, okay, hey, me from 5 years from now. Let's say I've been going to the gym for 5 years now. What would I be doing? Okay, well, I know I would be doing this, not I'm hoping to. It's somebody who you are. It's what you do now. And so holding firm to that belief and just every single day or as often as you can being like, okay, I'm not going to try and do this. I'm going to do this because this is who I am now. I'm going to the gym because that's who I am. I'm somebody that goes to the gym. Or no, I'm somebody that meal preps. So hey, it's Sunday or Saturday or whatever day works, and I'm going to meal prep because I want to take care of my health. Or hey, I'm drinking a gallon of water a day from now on. That's who I am now. So really trying to just identify with that, finding out who you want to be, some habits that those types of people do, and finding a way to kind of just fit it into your life. Because that makes, oh my goodness, let me tell you, that makes so much of a difference. It makes life a lot less almost complicated, I would say, because then you're not overthinking it. Because when you're stressed and you're trying to like figure out, okay, when can I start? What's a good time to start? Is this a good time? Maybe a week from now. I'm about to go on vacation for a week, so I'll just wait until I'm back. Like you're always gonna have something that kind of comes up that delays you. And so you're always thinking of like what there is, and you're almost kind of coming up with like excuses to kind of stop yourself from doing what you want to do. But if you really are dedicated to trying to either be consistent or get that journey, if that's something that you're very serious about, then you got to kind of like almost stop thinking. Thinking about like what is going on in your life and what obstacles you have, and instead think about what possibilities there are. Okay, hey, this is what I do now. So this is who I am. So what can I do? What would somebody like that be doing? And kind of just weave it into your life very slowly at whatever pace works for you. If maybe you have just one job, but you have a little bit more time, then yeah, hit the gym, an hour a day, focus on drinking water, build as many habits as you can. And then if you have less time, maybe you do have a family you're taking care of or a couple jobs and your time is much more limited. Then rather than being like, oh man, I'm just so busy all the time, I really don't have any like availability or capacity to do that. Take a second and rather than building these blockades, find a passage. Be like, okay, I have all this stuff going on, but I still have the ability to go to the gym or do stuff at home. You can do that meal prepping or the drinking water, or, some yoga or finding some YouTube videos and just doing some at-home HIIT workouts. There is so much in this world today that allows you freedom and the ability to do whatever you want. Like if you want something to happen, you live in a world where like you can watch videos, you can listen to podcasts, everything is literally at the touch of your hands, from your phone to your computer, that you have no excuse. And that may sound a little harsh. I'm sorry. But that's also the reality. Like you have the ability to, have workouts and somebody teaching you how to do them at the palm of your hands, whether it's at home or in a gym. And so you just have to be willing to say, okay, I'm going to stop delaying. I'm not going to worry about going, I know I have a vacation in a week, but that doesn't mean I can't try and get something in right now, or maybe, have a little bit of like frugalness when I'm on the vacation of like, okay, maybe I won't just splurge every single day, but, maybe I'll just kind of monitor it a little bit because you still want to enjoy life, but that doesn't mean you can't have it in moderation. That's the big key again. We're not having an all or nothing mindset. It's all about moderation, having the kind of like a gray scale where it's not just black or white, but there's that middle ground. Find something that works for you. And it's going to be different for every single person. So for me, for example, with this podcast, I think this is a great one because kind of like I mentioned at the beginning, I don't really have like a script. I kind of just go, I have like guidelines basically to help give me some guidance, but I try and kind of free flow this because I want it to be as natural as I can. And because I very much am somebody who always likes to be organized, have like a timeline. I'm very, as funny as it may sound, I'm somebody who likes a lot of structure. I'm kind of almost like a creature of habit. I'm like a freaking robot. Like I want to do the same thing every single day, every moment, all the time. And so with doing this, it's like I have guidelines of like, cool, I know what I need to be talking about week after week, that type of thing. But when I have these solo episodes, I always overthink the topic. I'm always like, I don't know if this is a good one. I don't, this might be dumb. This is lame. Nobody's going to like this. I don't think it's a good idea. And I'm just overthinking things of like, okay, I don't think these are good ideas. Or I let life get in the way and I'm like, oh man, I want to go hang out with my friends, or I want to spend time with my wife. I want to take care of our dog. I want to do all these other things. And I just let life get by. And then, hey, I'm, a little bit later and I'm questioning like, this has to be perfect. And I remember, I think it was a couple weeks ago, my wife reminded me of this actually. I was talking with her because I was struggling. I was like, I wanted the podcast to just go great, and it is. But I was so stressed that every episode I was like, okay, what do I need to change? What can I add on? Like, I want it to be perfect. And she was like, dude, shut up. She was like, this is your first time ever doing this. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just get it going. Just start it. Just get one episode out at a time, regardless of if it's the best one ever. Because the reality is, if you continue to just delay, if you continue to wait, you're just going to end up giving up. And I had wanted to. I was like, man, I feel like I'm not doing a good job. And I wanted to give up. And I've been doing this for months now and I love it. And she was like, no, stop. Like, you love doing this. So stop complaining. And rather than thinking of ways to get out of it, figure out what you can do to keep moving forward. And I was like, I hate you. That's not what I said. I was like, you're right. And I was upset about it, but I was also very grateful. I was like, okay, thank you. And she's right. Like she's so insightful and so smart. And I am so grateful to have her in my life because she helps me keep me on track with stuff like this. And that's just like a story just from my end. I've worked with plenty of clients as well too that also go through this, and I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with, and that's why I'm so glad that I was able to make this episode, is because I have had plenty of clients in the past and even still now where we're working with them on their consistency. And some of them, it's their consistency with their nutrition, where it's like, hey, they tend to grab these snacks, these sugary sweets, or a lot of these salty foods all the time, and it's like, okay, cool, I don't want you to stop that, but we do want to kind of, monitor it a little bit. We want to make sure that we're not going overboard with these things and finding out, okay, where are our goals? What are we trying to kind of head towards? And what steps do we need to take along this journey to kind of get there? And it has made a world of a difference because as we work on that, like week after week, we run into all these obstacles of like, oh, I forgot I had that in my pantry, or I forgot I had that ice cream in my freezer still. And that's okay. It's okay to have hiccups. It's going to happen. But ultimately, we weren't trying to be perfect. It was like, okay, cool. What steps? So it's like, all right, we know that you have that now. If it's almost done, okay, maybe go ahead and finish it and just don't buy any more after that. Or it's like, okay, you have the entire container. Let's spread that out over a long period of time. Maybe have like a spoonful or a couple spoons, like a week or something like that, and focus on trying to eat healthy most of the other time. And so we just try and work on like, okay, what foods are good and what ones are, not as good. So rather than being like, okay, here's a meal plan, you have to stick to this, you're not allowed to miss a single meal, and you need to be spot on with your timing. It's like, okay, no. Life can be crazy. Life is crazy. It's messy. So how can we be consistent with small changes over time? And it works so well. People love that. At least in my experience, the clients that I've worked with love that. I can't say everyone, but I feel like those small changes definitely are a lot better than having that perfectionist mindset, even though it can be very hard because we want things to be perfect, even though they can't be. And so I think there are three pretty good rules to kind of follow that will help you stay consistent during the chaos. And one of which is kind of a funny, it's lower the bar and just keep the streak. So rather than having these high expectations and just trying to hold on to them, even when your life is just all over the place, and just trying to have one thing stay consistent like that, that's just so high that it's so hard to maintain. And it's just causing you stress and stress and stress. And, you end up giving up rather than keeping that high bar and those high expectations when life is messy. Lower that bar, make it easier on yourself, and just keep going. Find something that's manageable and keep it going. So that's the first rule. The second rule that I like to say is kind of just anchor one non-negotiable. Now, since it's a non-negotiable, you want it to be very small. Something that even when life is super chaotic is very easy. It's kind of just like your second nature. That's where that like identity-based habits come in, where it's like, okay, no, this is just who I am. Something that you can always revert back to. So whether it's like, cool, hey, every single day I make sure to get in, 10,000 or more steps a day. And you just spread it throughout the day. If that's one, or maybe it's like, hey, I try to make sure I get in my protein goals for the day. Or, hey, I try to make sure that I get this much sleep every single night. Find kind of one non-negotiable and just kind of anchor into that and have that be part of like your identity. This is who I am. I'm somebody who does these things. And my life kind of revolves around it. Not necessarily you're trying to get it to revolve around your life. It's just something that fits in. Because then it's like, okay, cool. This is just part of your life. It's just who you are. And so it just flows with everything. And then you build the other habits kind of around it where you can. You're lowering that bar, but you have one thing. You have your baseline, basically. And so that would be the second rule, I'd say, is kind of find one anchor that you always revert back to. And that's kind of who you are. The third rule that I would say is just kind of make your plan lighter, not stricter during stressful seasons. So I would say that kind of ties in with our first rule where it's like lowering the bar, but it's, I guess, just another way to look at it where it's like, cool, I'm not trying to control the chaos in my life. I'm not trying to be like, no, okay, I can't do all of these other things. I can only do this. You're choosing to say, hey, no, I have all these things going on. Is there any way that I can, maybe take a little bit out of each one or just a little bit out of one so that way I have room to go and do these hobbies that I have, to go and take care of my health. Whether it's that nutrition that we were talking about, whether it is cooking and meal planning, or whether it's just getting your steps in or your protein or going to the gym, making your plan a little bit lighter, not stricter during stressful season. So rather than trying to force a habit to fit in with the chaos, something big, lower that bar, find your baseline, your anchor, and then find a way to kind of lighten your load a little bit. Make it easy so that way you're able to keep going. And that'll help out a lot with that consistency. Because then okay, hey, I know I've got my kids I'm taking care of. I've got, my jobs that I'm doing, but, I know that if I wake up, 15 minutes early, it allows me to make breakfast. That way I can start the day off strong. That's perfect. That's a great starting spot. And it leads into kind of like our next thing, which is when we're trying to when we have busy days versus kind of normal days. If you really want to stay consistent, you know what your life looks like. So pre-plan. understand that, okay, I have, here's my busy day. This is kind of what it looks like. Here's my normal day. This is what it looks like. Okay, I know I have this many busy days in the week. I know I have this many normal days. Sure, things might, surprise you every now and then, but you've got a pretty good idea of what your day and week looks like. And so you can then plan, okay, hey, on my normal day, I know I've got 2 busy days after. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this normal day to maybe make my food, get ready, save myself some time during the busy days, or hey, maybe I'm going to get some extra sleep tonight so that way going into these next 2 days, I've got a little bit more energy. I'm a little more well rested. So just pre-planning, understanding that, looking at your schedule ahead of time and be like, okay, what do I need to do this week to help make it easier? Because I don't think anyone really wants to just have busy days back to back and then just come home and just be like, oh God, I hate my life. I'm just exhausted all the time. Nothing's working out for me. I don't think that's fun either. But there's probably more people like that than there are people who are like, oh yeah, my life's been perfect. No issues. It's just reality. So finding a way to pre-plan your days so that way, understanding your busy days, you can be like, okay, this is what I need to do on these days to try and, or sorry, we're doing great. So on your normal days, understanding, okay, I've got busy days coming up. What do I need to do on this day so that way these busy days are a little bit easier? Or at least they're not as stressful. And then on your busy days, give yourself that grace. Lighten your load, lower that bar, and just do what is able to. Whether it's 5 minutes in the gym, maybe you just cook yourself dinner, whether it's getting yourself prepped for breakfast the next day, something small that you can then attain and kind of continue to compound on. Because that's going to be the next big key, which is like stacking your habits. There's a really good book that I read. It was called Atomic Habits. I should have looked. I forgot. I can't remember who the author is. I'll be honest with you. That's on me. But yeah, Atomic Habits. It is an incredible book. And it goes over basically all the different ways to build habits, what habits are, how your mindset can adapt to habits, and how it falls away from habits. One of the things that it talks about is called habit stacking. And basically what it means is every day, as you go throughout your day, from morning to nighttime, there is, one to a few things that you will do that you do almost every day, whether it's like brushing your teeth, making your bed, something, very quick and small like that. And what it is it's stacking a habit on top of one of those. So maybe, for example, let's say you brush your teeth and then, you put on deodorant after. Maybe right after that, a habit that you do is you have supplements right next to it and you just take your supplements every single day. So that every time you get up, you make your bed, you brush your teeth, put on your deodorant, supplements. Get up, make your bed, brush your teeth, supplements. You just keep repeating that day after day until your brain is like, oh, supplements. That's another thing that I do. That's part of who I am now. Yeah. It's part of your routine. It's built in. Now you have another habit. And then you do the same thing after that. Maybe it's like, okay, cool. I know that every single day I grab my bag, grab my lunch, and I'm getting ready to go into work. Maybe from there, it's like, okay, I grab my bag, I grab my lunch, and maybe I have a water bottle that I have filled that I just snag with me and I bring it with me and I drink it the moment I sit down in the car. Small habits that you kind of just stack up. And that's another way to build that consistency into messy seasons. It's because you've pre-planned your days, you understand what your week is looking like, and now you're also trying to just build habits that are very, very small on top of habits you already do in your life. Helps to kind of make it a little bit easier, I would say. At least it has in my life. Yeah. So I think those are some really great ways to try and help build that consistency when life gets messy. Because going to the gym and taking care of your health can be very, tough for some people. Not everyone is super motivated to do it. And some people are always of that mindset of like, I just have something going on. And so you just delay it. And the reality is if you just get going, if you get started, if you start, with building those habits, stacking them on top of each other, following the 3 rules, and really trying to just identify as who you want to be, somebody who has reached your goal, and identify as somebody like that and make it your lifestyle, that builds consistency so much better than waiting for those perfect conditions. Progress isn't built during the perfect weeks. It's built during the chaotic ones, and being able to dig deep and just be like, I'm going to do this no matter what. Being able to say, I'm going to take that first step regardless of how my conditions are around me, and finding ways to make it work rather than finding ways to make it not. I want you guys to try and pick one habit that you're going to keep no matter what this week. So finding a habit that you want to try and build and stick to it and just be like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to be. What do I need to do to make it work? And again, it doesn't matter how big or how small. And so if you're having troubles, you're welcome to reach out. You can just shoot me a message, leave a comment. Or if you know me personally, come up and talk to me and ask me. Let's brainstorm. Try and find a way, talk to the people around you even, and find a way to build a habit and stick to it. And if you're struggling to think of one, or you can't figure out how to make a habit that you want, like a big goal that you have, if you can't figure out how to make it smaller, talk to people around you. Use ChatGPT. If you don't like ChatGPT, use people around you. But find a way to make it work rather than a way to make it not. And it's a little bit tougher at first. And you're going to have bumps along the road. But again, nothing is perfect. It's better to continue taking steps and trip and then get back up and keep walking rather than taking steps, trip, and staying down. Because as long as you keep moving, regardless of how small those steps are, they'll continue to compound and you will reach those goals. You'll even surpass them as long as you keep going. So find something that you guys want to stick to and stick to it. And then let me know in the comments section. I would love to hear, your guys' ideas on these, what you decided to try and stick to. And yeah, I would love to hear those. So thank you guys. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys joining me in for this episode. That is all that I have for today and for this week, I guess. But we will be having an episode this next week, which I'm excited for as well. But that's just because I like doing this. So thank you guys. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Please, again, leave a like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. And then leave comments if you guys have any questions for me. If there's anything you want answered or a video on a certain topic, I'd be more than happy to do it. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to getting to do this again next week, you guys. See ya.